What's up, everybody? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced a moment that was so intense or even very unexpected that it really like cracked you open to the wider world? Maybe it was a breakup or a betrayal. Maybe you even had to move to a new foreign land and felt like you were at a loss, or even felt like even though you were making breakthroughs, nothing ever quite seemed to live up to the dream that you had in your mind before. It's moments like this that don't just happen. They shake you, they stretch us, and, sometimes they stir something that is ancient inside of us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. They may come as tears, they may become as confusion or even silence, but underneath it all, something sacred is really waking up inside of you. And what if that disruption wasn't chaos, but your divine initiation? What if the shock you're still recovering from was actually the thing that brought you closer to your true self, to your purpose, and to your power? Not a punishment, but a pathway, not direction or destruction, but direction. And that is the energy of Gate 51 in human design, the shock that awakens the soul. And if you ever lived through it, you already know you're not the same person that you were before after you go through it. And maybe that is the whole point. Welcome to Successful, where I help ambitious founders, leaders, and coaches eliminate resistance, gain clarity in their decision making so they can take bold, aligned action without draining their energy or second guessing themselves. If you're new here, don't forget to check out my free Successful Signals training, where you can discover your strategy and your authority aligned with your human design type. You'll find the link in the description below. All right, so today we are diving into Gate 51, the Gate of Shock, also known as the Gate of Initiation. This is one of the most powerful and often misunderstood gates in human design. So today we're going to break into it, and it's here not to break you, but it is here to awaken you. This gate carries the energy of courage, of boldness, and really that spiritual jolt that realigns you with your truth. Let's explore how this energy works, what initiates it, and how to meet the shock as a sacred opportunity for growth. I have this gate in my chart, and it plays a big part in who I am. I also have the channel 2551, but we'll get into that as we get into the gate. Gate 51, the Gate of Shock, also known as the Gate of Initiation. In astrology, this is Aries. In tarot, this is the Tower. In the I Ching, this is Zen, or the arousing. The location of this gate is in the heart center, and it is reaching up towards the Chi center. Our circuitry for this gate is the centering circuit. In essence, this week, Gate 51 is bringing us the energy of disruption, awakening, and spiritual initiation. So it may not always be comfortable, but it's always with a purpose. People with this gate often move through life changing movements or changing moments that kind of feel like they come out of nowhere. And over time, these moments, it tends to shape them into someone who's bold, someone who's resilient, and a very deep spiritual leader. Maybe I'm one of those. I have this gate, actually have this whole channel. So this week, I am doubly leaning into the energy of shock. And there's some things that are going on in my life that are a little shocking going on this week as well. This energy is all about being the trailblazer, being a risk taker, and the one who jumps in when no one else will. And the energy of this gate is not afraid of the unknown, and it is not afraid to jump in when it is called to do so. Throughout my life, I have found myself being as a person who's willing to go first whenever they're asking for volunteers for something, or people have not just stepped up. I really have no qualms about being the first one to go. Even with the channel of initiation as well with this gate, I have this whole channel. And so it has never really been there's never been a lot of resistance for me initiating things, to put it a different way. So this week we are reflecting on what are the moments in our lives where we felt like we've been shocked or we're in a situation that kind of woke us up to what was really going on. And how do we respond to sudden changes? Do we fight, flight, or freeze, or do we rise to the occasion? And are we being invited to lead by others first into the unknown? And, with that unknown, what are going to be those shocks that we feel? If you're looking at what's going on, not even in the United States this week, but in the world, a lot of shock. A lot of things are changing. Like there's literally a new world order being formed right now. And to some people, it's very shocking, whether it be the actions of the government or the losses in the stock market. It's been a shocking week. So, how are we reacting to these changes, and to the unknown? Because in some situations, we really don't know what's going to happen with all these laws and all these international country relationships changing so fast. In shadow, this energy expresses itself as recklessness. It can show up as being very ego driven. It is out of the ego center, and it can be very competitive. And it's all about initiating chaos just for the sake of attention and sake of control. And this energy can become very disruptive, and it may not even really have a purpose other than really just trying to prove its worth through dominance and showing that no matter what it does, it still is going to win and dominate in the end. You can see the other strain of that going in the United States right now. The enlightened side, or the highest frequency of this energy, this gate really becomes a channel for us to be transformative and to lean on our divine courage. So, it's really saying to us that, it's okay to go first. As a matter of fact, go first, right? Not because you're going to get some applause or people are going to pat you on your back, but more so knowing that, when we are shocked or when we are initiated, when we get integrated, now that's really a sacred transition, being the first to be initiated into something, right? If you look back throughout cultures and histories, there was a time in a man and a woman's life where they were initiated, and the things that maybe initiated you were kind of shocking, but once you got to the other side, it was viewed as something very, very sacred. And so it brings others to you or with you through your example and less out of fear when we are in the highest frequency of this energy. In human design, this gate lives in the heart center, also known as the ego center, which governs our willpower, which governs our courage and our material strength. And it reaches towards gate 25 in the G center, forming the channel of initiation. And this is a powerful energetic connection that catalyzes spiritual awakening through one's life in the most unexpected moments. I have this channel, and maybe even this YouTube channel is here to shock you or initiate you into the ways, design, the strategies of human design to help you in your life. And, when I found this system, actually, literally when I asked the universe for a system like this to share with people, it can be quite shocking, I believe, to see how accurate it is and how it can help you eliminate resistance in your life. And so this channel is not necessarily about being logical, right? It's about faith. It's about the heart. And it's also about surrendering to the divine unknown, because if you ask me, in the next few years, there's a lot changing with AI, and there's a lot that's unknown, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to shock people. I'm feeling that this week, but I feel like this is going to be a bigger theme over the next couple years. Gate 51 is projected. And so that means that the courage and the shock of that, what you're going to say, particularly, I call it shocking, but it's really wisdom, right? The wisdom that you may share through this gate or this past week, it may be shocking, but it does have truth to it. And so to make sure that it's the most impactful, we want to make sure that we are recognized and invited to share before we just give answers or we're just shocking to be shocking, right? We don't want that. It's okay to be shocking, but if you're going to lean into the energy, you also want to eliminate the resistance around it And so by doing that or making sure that we're invited, we're able to reduce that resistance. When we try to force and take control of an awakening, it can actually backfire with this energy. So to make sure the timing is impeccable and that you can make sure your impact is undeniable when you are sharing from this energy. So once we activate this energy, we're going to be making bolder moves. We may even make sudden shifts that are more heart led than more logical. And we may experience events that, again, may shock others, but you're here to be initiated when you're leaning into this energy. And so we're going to carry the energy of a spiritual leader who awakens others simply by living our lives. In the shadow of this, we may act impulsively to prove ourselves, but we are also doing that to strength or to test the strength of our limits. And so initially we might resist this change until we actually get hit like a bolt of lightning. And so, we could create this shock unconsciously just to feel like we're alive when we have this gate around. So to make sure we're in the highest frequency, again, we want to make sure that we're using this energy in a way that is invited and not just shocking people for the sake of it. So how do we work with Gate 51 this week and how do we honor the shock? And so not everything that shakes us or shocks us is bad, right? Sometimes we need to be shocked for our situation to change, right? Shocking what's going on in the States right now. But, if you ask a lot of people, regardless of whatever side of the aisle you're on or what party, people are going to probably say something needs to change, right? So it's happening. There's an alignment going on and some shocks change history. And so what we want to do is one, anchor ourselves in our own faith and trust that, the disruption in our life means that we're stepping into something greater. Things always change for the good for us. And we're also looking to channel our courage with our purpose, right? Let our boldness be into service of others, service of ourselves, and not just to feed our ego this week. All right, guys. So this week, Gate 51, the gate of shock and initiation, teaches us that transformation often arises disguised as disruption. It calls on us to move through fear and lead with courage, to embrace change, and to seek the sacred force that is going to awaken our true selves this week with all the shock going on. This gate doesn't ask for permission. It leads by example. It reminds us that life always won't feel safe, but if we can align, that is where we can get our sense of safety. And from that alignment, we don't just survive the shock, we become the initiators of that shock. Now, I love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment that shocks you into clarity? Or do you, Gary, Gate 51 in your chart like I do? And how are you learning to embrace these initiations in your own life? That is it for Gate 51 this week. Peace.